All right, let's call this meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. We're going to start with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Sunshine law notice. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person through the Zoom meeting platform being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this regular council meeting of September 9th, 2024 is available by calling phone number or through web conference Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it's time for questions or comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question or comment by phone through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was included in a schedule of meetings, which was adopted by resolution number 2024-13 and sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times on January 4th, 2024. Posted on the Borough website, the bulletin board in the municipal building. It has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Borough Clerk is directed to include this statement in the minutes of this meeting. Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Council members Cole.
Yes.
Demasselli.
Yes.
Hoey.
Yes.
Hodge. LaBarbera.
Yes.
Olson.
Yeah.
And Administrator York, Attorney Stovall, Attorney Miller. Chief McGovern, CFO Britton, and Engineer Cordella are also today.
Thank you. Starting off, I just want to mention, as many of you know, late last week, there was an incident in Rumson. The officer in question is doing well. I just want to point out how thankful we are to the entire Fairhaven Police Department, as always, and that will be the only comment we'll make tonight, as it is still an active investigation. Okay, we're going to start off with a proclamation, Random Acts of Beauty, which is always exciting. Every year I look forward to this. And I'd like to come out there and we'll see who has shown up, received their beauty awards. And I'm going to read, I think I'll read the proclamation and then we can get these out. It reads, whereas members of the Garden Club of Fairhaven rode through town identifying front and side yard properties with gardens that contain colorful and attractive flowers or horticulture, and whereas residences, garden plots, and businesses were eligible for this award, and whereas members of the Garden Club chose the following residences, business, and community garden plot as recipients of the Random Acts of Beauty Award. Our winners, and I think you can come up as I read your name if you're here. The Bar O'Keefe residence at 43 Downey Lane.
She's on Zoom.
Congratulations. The Heinlein residence, 65 Willow. Not on Zoom maybe, but. The Gonzalez residence, 243 3rd Street. The Lawrence residence, 48 Lake Avenue. No, all right. I hope I pronounced this right. The Moreau residence? Moray residence. And I'm thinking maybe it's not sure we're finishing your birthday.
Oh, my birthday.
For garden plots, Catherine Rose Story. And our business, by George Baby, 825 River Road. Thank you to everyone. We really appreciate all the hard work you put into making Fairhaven just a more beautiful place to live. Very much appreciated. Okay, we are moving along here into our first workshop session. We have a request for annual lawn signs and a banner from Dermer Dreams. Elise is usually on call, but I don't know if we need to hear, we're welcome to hear from Elise if she wants to speak, but does anyone have any questions?
Same.
Does anyone have any questions on her request?
Just thank her for.
Yeah, Elise, thank you, you and Dan and the entire foundation for everything you're doing to fight hunger, one bag at a time.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Is that her?
That was her.
Elise?
Hi, I just have one question. Normally, we're allowed to keep them up for approximately 2 weeks. The big banners, what we're trying to do is we would like to put them up as soon as possible, the banners, like maybe in a week or two in the 2 spots, and keep them there as long as you guys see fit, just because we're trying to really generate sign-ups.
When is the
event is
actual date?
November 2nd.
Let me say, do we have an Oktoberfest sign that's already?
There's gonna be, yeah, there's gonna be.
When does that go up? Do we know?
It was approved immediately and it's gonna come down on like the 30th.
And I think with the farmer's market is this Saturday. That's correct as well? Anyone have any issue with us just communicating with Elise offline and figuring out the dates for that?
No.
I know Allison knows the date, so you could.
We'll figure out a good time, so it's not conflicting.
Yeah.
That's good?
Yeah.
All right, Elise, we'll reach out to you offline and we'll figure that out.
So,
Perfect. Thank you so much.
new motion to approve signs and deconflicting with Allison, as just mentioned on the call.
I'll just paste on your.
Yeah.
First motion?
Perfect.
Okay,
Just making sure.
all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna call this today's main event, proposed amendment to the tree preservation ordinance. I'm gonna pass this one off, Councilman Olson.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So I have a little opening statement I'll read to set the context and frame the issue. So why are we discussing tree ordinances tonight? The New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection has revised its municipal stormwater general permit mandating Fairhaven adopt and enforce a comprehensive ordinance covering tree removal and replacement. This revised permit reflects the growing need for municipalities in New Jersey to actively address environmental impacts of tree removal, making it essential for us to find a workable solution. Our process has been both thorough and inclusive. Key stakeholders involved in shaping this ordinance include the NJDEP, the New Jersey Shade Tree Federation, the Fairhaven Shade Tree Commission, the Fairhaven Environmental Commission, the Fairhaven Natural Area, Fairhaven's licensed tree expert, the borough administrator, and numerous residents. Each of these groups comes to the table with its own priorities, and our challenge has been to distill these various interests into a manageable and fair approach. At its core, the issue reflects 2 fundamental values: environmental preservation and property rights. Throughout this process, we've had to balance perspectives of 2 primary camps. On one side, environmentalists stress the vital role that trees play in our ecosystem. On the other, property rights advocates emphasize the importance of maintaining control over private property. Our goal has been to balance these viewpoints, recognizing that compromise needs means neither side will get everything they want, but both will have their essential needs met. To reach this point, we've identified key stakeholders, considered their needs, and worked diligently to create common ground. The Fairhaven Shade Tree Commission, which consists of 9 volunteer residents, many of them are here tonight, has been at the heart of this effort, working for nearly 4 years alongside multiple council members and attorneys to craft this ordinance. In addition, the New Jersey Shade Tree Federation, a nonprofit organization with a 100+ year history of assisting communities with tree canopy management, provided an invaluable starting point. The result is a well-balanced ordinance that ensures tree preservationists can continue to maximize Fairhaven's tree canopy while also allowing property rights advocates the ability to manage their land. This ordinance acknowledges the crucial environmental, economic, and social benefits of trees while respecting private property. It requires that any healthy tree removed be replaced, ensuring the continuation of these benefits for future generations. This ordinance also ensures a continuous planting of new trees, which is not only beneficial but essential for our environment. A diverse age range of trees helps reduce the risk of deforestation from disease and storms. And a healthy tree canopy actively captures carbon dioxide, supporting broader environmental goals. Additionally, this new ordinance generates funding for the Shade Tree Commission to plant new trees throughout the town, sustaining Fairhaven's natural beauty for years to come. In closing, I'm proud to say this ordinance represents a balanced approach, one that guarantees our community's greenery will thrive while respecting individual property rights. It's important to remember that no ordinance is static. We will continue to review and refine this law as we learn what works best. I urge you to support this ordinance so we can move forward together for the greater good of Fairhaven.
Thank you, Councilman Olson. I'd like to open it up to members of the council. For any questions, comments? Obviously, this is in workshop, so if there was agreement on this, we would move towards providing that information, the borough attorney to provide us with a working ordinance, which is very similar to this, obviously, with any tweaks we have, so that we can introduce it at the next council meeting.
Sure.
Sure.
So overall, I talked to Brian about this. I kind of went through a bunch of it. I tried to compare it with the original that had been done a while ago. And just to see kind of where the holes were, what was taken out. So generally, I think it's decent. I think it does serve the purpose. Obviously, as an environmentalist, I would love to go a little bit further, but I think this does cover it. The couple areas where I just want to make sure that I see a little bit of holes was we talked about the heritage tree. There's no heritage trees listed on here. I know that there is a spot that sort of.
Hold on a second. If you don't mind, just point out the section, because.
Sure. Well, it's nowhere. It's not on here.
Okay.
So, heritage trees obviously would be trees that are massive trees that have been identified by some group. Now, I talked to, Councilman Olson about this, and I guess it's hard to determine, or there's some discussion about who determines who is a heritage tree. I know that the big tree hunt has identified, I think, 6 trees. So I know that we want to move forward on this. This has been forever, so I appreciate that this is about time. But is there a way maybe to just start with that identification, since that was a specific thing that was done for our town, if we are interested in protecting the heritage trees? Now, I don't think that if we move forward with this necessarily, the heritage trees are going to be knocked down right away. But I do think that it is important, because even if someone plants a tree, it's not going to make up for that 100-year-old, 200-year-old heritage tree anytime soon. So I think that's one area that I'd love to kind of hash out a little bit. As far as the application process goes, I have a little bit of questions about that. So from my understanding, someone would come forth, they would fill out the application, it would come to the borough. Now, in here it says the person who will obtain the applications will be decided by Chris and the mayor. Now, I have a little bit of a question about, because every other position in city and also within any kind of council or commission is appointed or with our approval or our recommendation too. So I kind of would want to make sure that we know who that is, or have a clear identification of who that role is going to be before we move forward. The other thing is, I would want to see the application with the next ordinance, just to make sure that we're voting on, I would want to make sure that the application is as clear, because I know sometimes there are questions about our applications in general too. So I think that's going to be an important piece of this. So the next ordinance, next version, I'd love to see the application with it. So I guess who does it? And then also just how are we, I know it said that the police would be the ones who give out the tickets or, the fines. But how are we guaranteeing that people are really doing what they're saying they're doing? So I guess I would want to make sure that we know that they're actually doing it. Someone had mentioned to me, what if there was like, they have to put money down, if they said that they're gonna plant a tree, they have to put money down that we hold it, and then once they get a tree, they have to prove it to us and they get the money back. I know that's a lot of back and forth, so I don't know if that's feasible, but I just want to make sure that we are actually, people are following through, and I don't know if that's tight enough here, like if that, we know that that's happening. And also the other thing is the maintenance of the trees, to make sure that people who are planting the trees are actually maintaining them and know how to maintain them, so they're not putting these trees up and they're dying within 2 years, because that doesn't solve any of the problems with the tree, or it like doesn't help with the trees.
That last point I think is addressed in there. I think they have to maintain it for 2 years.
They do, but like, how do we know that are they coming with pictures to show us? Are they, and also like, how can we help them in that way? Is that a function of maybe the Shade Tree Commission, because they're giving recommendations on the types of trees? Is that some kind of form they can give, like, here's the healthiest ways to keep tree, is that somehow we can help that along?
So there's a bunch of things that are all good. Can I start addressing?
Sure.
So the first, I don't know if people have copies, but item T in the definitions is a placeholder. And that is put in to handle a specimen tree, which is another word for heritage tree. The Shade Tree Commission did wrestle with this issue. Like Councilwoman DiMichelli said, it wasn't clear about how to decide what type of trees are heritage trees, who would make the determination, how they'd be treated. And we started to sense that it was going to drag on the debate for a lot longer. And so we pivoted and decided that the best route would be to get something in the books to generate revenue for the Shade Tree Commission to start planting trees. And we'll deal with that later. I mean, I agree. I think it's a tough topic to nail down. It's not impossible, but I think the Shade Tree Commission is excited to work on it.
Was there any discussion about the big tree hunt? I mean, is that like not official enough as a identifier of a heritage tree? I mean, it's officially in the books, right? I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys, but
I think it's recognized by the state.
From my education, big tree hunt, like my neighbor has a big tree and I can make the recommend, or do you have to do it for your own property?
The property owner has to agree.
Property owner has to agree to the big tree hunt. So I guess what we're talking about here is I doubt if the property owner wanted a big tree hunt tree, I doubt they'd be looking to knock it over. So what you're talking about is the next owner
yeah,
potentially of the property
or a developer or.
having an issue with the tree. That's
Or if it becomes diseased and ages out.
but that's covered, I think.
Yeah, the
That's
disease is
covered.
covered.
I think you're bringing up a great point. We just couldn't come to a solution. If you have something that you think.
I mean, that's the
can
only
thread
thing-
needle,
I don't know, like,
I'm open, but.
Bonnie would know. The only one I'm aware of is the big tree hunt, but I do know that that
So
was.
Monmouth County does have a program, I forgot what it's called, where they say it's something like if a tree has a diameter that's within 70% of the largest tree of that species within the county, it's special.
Yeah,
But the question came to you, is a heritage tree by age? Or is it by species with age, or is it by size or size? So it gets really hairy. And that's why we decided to put a pin in it, get this done and keep working on it.
What is the big tree hunt dictate a tree to be?
I
Is
guess
it that calculation like that?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
That's the big tree.
That's the same?
Yeah,
okay.
or thereabouts, and there are people in the room who could give us
Yes.
more information on
Yes.
that, but that. It's very mutual, there is no, it's not. Nobody shows up and designates a tree on your property against your rights and say. Do you, if you like your tree,
Yeah,
we would like to call it out and put it in the catalog of big trees.
The only issue I foresee, because you're only talking 6 trees and you're saying the owner
yeah,
makes that designation,
So the next
is
owner.
the next owner. And I'm just throwing out the uncomfortable idea that
gotcha.
someone buys a house and that, we're talking about an even bigger, older tree, which there'd
Mhm.
probably be more concern on falling on a house and they might, you know where I'm going with it. So
It might need to come down, you're saying, if it gets.
in that situation, in that unfortunate situation, that homeowner might want to take their tree down, and that's when we would get into this situation.
Yeah,
But I guess I would ask the question of, in the current ordinance, how would that situation be handled right now?
So I think all trees there is no specimen tree. They're all treated the same, if you will.
Right, so,
So there's no designation.
so as of right now, someone would just ask for, put in a permit,
Put in a
and
permit.
it would either get approved or not approved based on the health of the tree, and
Yep.
then if they didn't like the answer, they would come to us and it would be, that's the current
It's the current form.
form,
Yes.
okay.
So on the application, and jump in if I forget
Yeah.
something. So the application, I know Christie's been working on it. She managed that process. There's a current one. I think once this gets passed, if it does, we'll take a look at it and she can revamp it.
The tree application process is one of the 4 that's gonna be overhauled with SDL, so we can work on timing with that.
That'd be great.
So I just wanted to,
Drew, I'm sorry, I was just gonna add to that. To that point, will the electronification of that also help with the responsibility of the person planting the tree to demonstrate the fact that they planted that tree? Will there be an opportunity to upload photos, et cetera, to document the fact that they followed through on their commitment? To Michael's other point.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I was
But we
thinking,
have to vet it because we can set the process as we want, the timing, all of that. So if there's follow-up, it's also delivery vehicle for communication and education, right? So
yeah,
I'll make sure we come prepared.
And is there a way to like, just, sorry, but like close it out, like it's still open?
Yeah.
And then it like closes out once
Yeah.
they've,
Because Christie, I think tracks all that right now
yeah.
on her own, so this should
It's all digital.
support her.
yeah. Something to look into to alleviate the back and forth, right? We can do this
Yeah.
electronically.
To automate it more.
Yeah, check.
Yeah.
I got it.
Sounds good.
And let's see, what else did you have on there? So the person that approves the application. So there was discussion with Shade Tree Commission about who that person would be, and we sort of had a long conversation. And the conclusion was that if we said it's going to be X person, what happens if in 10 years that person is no longer suitable to make the determination? So we said a compromise would be that it would be a person appointed by the borough administrator with the consent of the mayor. If you want to make it the consent of the governing body, I'm fine with that. I didn't think of it, to be honest. That's fine, but to give flexibility that, let's say it's the chief and the current chief retires and the new chief, we don't like what's happening there, the borough administrator would have the power to change the person without changing the ordinance.
Why wouldn't we just make them part of the professional service folks, right? That bench list in the organizational.
At the reorg meeting.
And that goes,
I think that's, we're saying the same thing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, so, well, we have a licensed tree expert.
We have an
It contemplated in the ordinance.
Yep.
And there is a borough designated licensed tree expert is the one who is responsible for doing the large tree removal plan.
Yeah, no, understood. I'm just saying when we appoint the professionals for the year,
Yeah.
that individual, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah, right.
Is
That was-
ceremoniously accepted at.
Yeah, I understand. And what else did you have? Oh, in terms of, making sure that the tree lives.
Yeah.
It does say that they have to keep it alive for 2 years and replace. I mean, my answer is just good faith. I guess I trust people, to do the right thing.
I mean, it's not to, like, I'm terrible at keeping things alive, so it's not necessarily doing the right thing, but,
I suspect that people that are planting a tree want to, if you don't want to plant the tree, in lieu of planting the tree, you can make a deposit to the shade tree fund. And then they can plant on your behalf, basically. But if you decide you'd rather plant the tree, I assume you want it to be alive.
Yeah.
I don't know how to make it airtight. Did you have anything else?
I have one thing too. I tried a recommendation for sort of what you brought up. And you're bringing up, I guess the process is slightly different if it's a street tree
Yes,
or if it's a clear cut, correct?
yes.
Okay, so in those situations, couldn't we treat, you said there were 6 trees total in the whole borough that qualified as the big tree
Actually,
ones?
there's 8, I just pulled up the registry now, we have 8 trees that are considered big and heritage
Could we
trees.
treat those 8 trees the same way as the street tree and
I
the?
don't think that will make a difference. So the street tree is a lower threshold to trigger the ordinance. 2.5 inch diameter at breast height. If it's not a street tree, which is anything else, it's 6 inches. So if it's a really small tree, basically you operate outside the ordinance. And if it's large, whether it's street or not, they're treated the same. So a big tree, you know, you have to replace it with 4 trees or $4,000, you know, whatever. And it doesn't get at specimen tree. I like where you're going with it, but I don't think there's a distinction there.
I'm gonna go back to just because it reminds me of that topic, the enforcement, section 5. Here it says that the ordinance shall be enforced by the police department and or municipal officials of Fairhaven. So that can just be anyone in general, I guess.
I mean, I would defer to our attorney.
Just that one seems not so official, like not specific. So I don't know if that needs to be.
I mean, I would like, you know, police department or a code enforcement officer. Yeah, I think it should be designated. Unless you're gonna have the borough administrator out there.
He was, I mean, he was a cop.
Yeah.
He could do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Is that okay with?
Yeah, it's fine.
Code enforcement officer?
There's, the Shade Tree Commission did struggle a lot with when you move to the penalty schedule, which is basically double. If somebody's trying to operate outside the rules, the penalty, if you will, is double than if they had operated within the rules. And how is that a lien on the property? Is it, you know, small claims for, you know, I don't, maybe you know, I don't know how that is enforced, but something we talked about, but we don't.
Yeah.
A summons or?
I mean, I don't have any issue with, you know, the summons. It's the whole lien process. It'll end up costing the borough much more than, you know,
Yeah.
to force it into lien the property and to go through the process. Or to wait for someone to sell the property and put it, you know, as a lien pendants.
Yeah.
I would be more inclined to allow it for just to give summons. You could do a court appearance required. Summons. And then.
Can you write that in there? I don't want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And also, I just want to make sure that, so if someone did just clear cut or did start doing work, like how are we catching, you know, like how do we know that?
We get phone calls.
Yeah, okay.
So can I talk about clear cutting? Because that was a big topic that there was a disagreement on several things, but not about how to prevent clear cutting, right? So that was, both camps very much were in favor of that. And what the ordinance says in plain English is, if you're gonna remove more than 4 or 5 trees on a lot, and more than 20% of the canopy, you need to have a report done by the borough's licensed tree expert. And once you take the trees down that are gonna be removed, you have to put snow fencing around the existing trees so that the heavy machinery doesn't kill the roots and you have a delayed death of the tree. And my understanding is there's code enforcement people sort of on site for those things quite a bit, and that's when they can say, you know, you need to fix this or that.
So who's like our code enforcement?
I
Like
believe
that
so.
would be the cops,
Well, no.
I think it's about
Code
construction.
enforcement, they have their own law construction.
the construction code.
And the ultimate result, if there's failure to comply, is you can't get a certificate of occupancy.
Yeah.
That's the rub. And the licensed tree expert does the report. The dollar amounts involved for clear cutting are quite substantial. If you're doing 10 trees and they're large, you know, $30,000-$40,000 is certainly possible.
Sorry, who writes the report? Our engineer or,
Our licensed tree expert,
so then we're paying for that,
that I don't know how that works.
right?
Well, I don't mind jumping in on this aspect, would that be acceptable?
No, of course.
I love that we're having an open conversation about these, you know, property rights and then the collective value of trees and the benefit to the community as a whole, keeping the balance, or at least struggling to find the balance. And, there was a piece of work that was done in the first effort with the committee, that some members in the room are actually part of that committee and still part of this one. We struggled really hard to figure out how to make this pay for itself. Currently, the taxpayers pay for the licensed tree experts reports and visits to the sites and everything, every part of it that's administered, except for the application fee that's paid for by the applicant. So this was, you know, this is, to me, this is a start. It's actually, you know, we're nowhere near a complete ordinance, even though all of the good effort that's going on. There's a lot that we still have to do. For example, I really think we need to make sure this thing pays for itself, whether it's the applicants, it should be specified who's generating the report and who's paying for the report. And then hopefully we can take into account the fees that are paid by the landscape companies that I think are $25 annually. They have to come in and get registered, but if we can get an accounting of those fees, plus the fees that are paid by the applicant, knowing they're gonna pay for and look at the hours that goes into administering it and make sure that none of those costs are falling off onto the taxpayers. It's doable. We spend some time on it. We just don't have it addressed in here, but you were grappling with other issues and have addressed them, but it's just a piece that, you know, when we get to an administrative review with our lead staff and a legal review with our municipal attorney, I'm sure they'll be able to advise us as to how to accomplish it. But I just want to insert that conceptually as something that needs to be accounted for in this when we do get a final ordinance to review or approve.
Well, we're just talking though specifically about a additional report from like Sherry, for instance, for a clear cut, right? That was the original. So couldn't we just put in, if there's a certain mechanism where, you know, if she has to do that report, the applicant has to pay for the report?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I mean, I'm.
That's what we're saying though, because
Right.
in the way it's phrased here, it's vague. It doesn't say who's paying for the report. They're saying
Yeah.
the report is done.
Yeah, but the only part I understand about that is you say like, we're not close to a working, I'm ready to introduce next meeting. Like, we're talking about tweaks right now. The Shade Tree Commission put in a tremendous amount of work into this ordinance. We've received a memo from them stating as such that they've endorsed it. It's far better than we have on the books already. Currently, we've been struggling with it 4 years. So now I don't have any issue with passing the ordinance and then continuing to improve it. But I think we have a great ordinance here. I'm so thankful to everyone for the hard work you guys all put into this. This is fantastic.
So Andrew, definition L, I think that's where we could put that in. Potentially, you're the lawyer.
I have a couple small things. Is that, if it's okay? When they get the application, do they automatically get the ordinance with it? I just think that might be a good piece. They do, okay. And then in D, under, I think section,
Definitions or
no, it's, C, replacement alternatives.
replacement alternatives.
So it's D, it's
Where are you?
protection of existing trees, so replacement alternative, protection of existing trees. This might be a little big as well, so it says that they have to put the snow fencing around it, like what you were saying, and then it's acceptable to a construction official and or borough engineer. Is that?
Where are we?
D, it's towards the back, protection of existing trees. It's like 2 pages from the back.
I mean, I guess I get it could be construction official or borough engineer. I just want to ensure that it's definitely happening, like this triggers, this person goes there, you know, like it's not, and I get that you need some flexibility, but I just want to make sure that, you know,
I'm more worried just that it's consistent, that, you know, they have the same interpretation of what that should look like. So I think that's more just.
Yeah, and I don't love and or
Yeah.
there.
that's why it's kind of vague, like it's like,
If the construction is, I mean, is that
Why
something
don't
that,
we designate someone, either construction official or
So this is one of, if I can piggyback, because define construction. Is it construction that is approved by the planning board? Is it construction approved by the zone? Like, I think you need to define what construction is, and that will help inform
well,
that.
you have to tell me.
Well, I'm looking for recommendation, right? Like, is it an addition? Is it a tear down? Is it new? Is it just redoing the inside of my house, right? Like.
well, and would it be on them or would it be on our engineer? Because construction could be like their construction official.
No,
No, it has to be.
No,
on
it
us. I know it's on us, but like,
So construction officials defined means the municipality's construction department director or his or her designee.
we have a specific construction.
I guess it would be new construction or new addition.
I'm good with it. I think we just need to define it, right? Because if I gutted my bathroom, technically that's construction, right? And redid my bathroom.
Yeah, but it's an addition that's causing them to clear cut trees off, otherwise it's just a normal.
You're just
tree
going to
application.
define construction in the first line where it says in connection with any construction.
Correct.
So capital C.
Well, I
And-
suppose it has to do with site work, maybe and equipment on the site.
Well, and think about this, right? I'll use my house example because I'm going through the process right now, right? I have a maple in the front of my house. The drip line goes to the patio over my driveway. It covers like the entire like front of my house. So I'm doing an addition in the backyard. I'm gonna have to redo the driveway, but am I allowed to do that? Right? Would I be allowed under this? Like, what's the practicality of that?
Are you allowed to do what?
Replace the driveway?
Is it as of right? Did you submit a permit for it?
I'm confused by the question. What does your driveway have to do with the?
So if I'm doing construction,
Right,
right, on my house, I'm doing construction right now, doing an addition,
Yeah.
I'll replace the driveway as part of that work.
right,
I have a tree in the front, so when it comes to protecting that tree,
right.
the drip line far exceeds either side of my property. So then this is saying, can I touch my driveway? Can
Yes.
I,
Yes, so you can.
But yes, but it only has to be during the construction period. And then you remove it.
right, but if my critical root zone is 2.5 times the diameter, right?
Yeah, it is defined in there.
Right, whatever that is, and or the drip line. And I have to place a protected barrier around that. I wouldn't be able to walk into my house right
You can put a door in the fence.
now. I'm just trying to think of, like,
No, so-
that's what sparked me with this,
so,
when I
yeah,
heard
that's a good
construction, what is construction, and what about this
So that's,
example?
this is part of the reason why it has to have some flexibility, because you can't solve for every scenario, right, in the world. So I would say my interpretation is, you do the best you can, and if the tree dies, you replace it. Right, that's how I would.
Yeah, I get it, I just,
I would say that you're only protecting the trees that are going to be impacted. But you're not obligated to put up fencing everywhere, but you're only obligated to protect the trees that are potentially gonna have equipment near them, because you want to prevent that.
correct, so what I'm saying is based on the math of the critical root zone
Yeah,
or the drip line,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That pretty much covers left to right of my property.
yeah.
So I couldn't put, I wouldn't be able to get equipment from the front of my house to my backyard because I would have a barrier around that.
But you would use your driveway.
Well, yeah, but I can't take an 8-foot excavator through my house, right? There's a 10-foot open on the side, but my canopy extends beyond that. I wouldn't be able to get them. I'm not trying to be difficult,
Yeah, no,
right?
that construction project may kill that tree. I mean, and then it's you have to replace it.
And that's what the GC said. They said no matter what you do,
What would happen right now?
that tree would die to replace it.
So we're better off than we were before.
No, I agree. I like to think through practicality, right? And to me, when I say any construction, that's ambiguous.
Yeah,
And an
yeah.
ordinance can't be ambiguous, right? So that's the only thing I'm saying.
So
So define.
it sounds like Andrew's got that.
Yeah.
Another point I want to talk about, the large scale tree removal, there was a topic I want to point out for Andrew and for the public. Is the Shade Tree Commission, we are sort of thinking the way zoning variances happen, where if it's a large tree removal, there's an obligation for the applicant to notify the abutting neighbors and let them know that there is, a large tree removal project happening. So I don't know if that's,
So you're talking about a 200-foot notice?
well, we
If
said
that's-
abutting property. Abutting property.
Okay,
And if it needs to be 200 feet instead of abutting,
So-
there's some sort of notification. But that's only for large scale.
Can you say that again?
Really learning about trees tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well done.
You get-
Like seriously,
you get
like you are just like rattling the facts.
you get lost in the.
Large scale removal.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Clause
so,
to notify the abutting neighbors,
Yes.
to let them know,
Hold on.
So if a developer comes in
Yeah.
and takes down 10 trees.
Is
they
there
have
a
to
question
tell-
whether we should keep that? Because I definitely.
No, it's how to implement it, and is it legal?
Oh, I got it.
The,
Yeah, absolutely, it's legal, but, so you want to notice to any abutting neighbors?
or if it needs to be 200 feet.
Almost like what we do for variance.
Like a variance, exactly,
Yeah.
we had in
200
mind the
feet
variance
is
process.
like a
It's 200 feet from the house in any direction.
200 feet either direction is fine.
Isn't that land?
From the
Army
house or from
service still there?
the property?
Or is it just a notification?
No, because it's,
Well, no, because like the whole yard behind.
it's just a
was on my-
notification process.
Just from my property, not my.
I don't agree with you with that.
You get the list from the borough and you send it
To a
out.
mailing.
Do we make it certified though? Cause
I
it does,
think
it
it's
does
certified.
add some,
It
but
does
if
say certified in here.
you got 40 homes around and you certify 40 pieces of mail, it adds up. And maybe that's a deterrent we're looking for, but I just wanna highlight, we're talking about passing, the LTE costs, we're talking about passing certified costs. And I understand that we're trying to make it harder to take a tree down, but.
So that's under section 3A2, and then Roman numeral 2.
I think it's
Section
certified.
3A, regulated activities.
I have two minutes.
I had, yeah.
I would hear.
3A2, okay,
3A2, Romanet 2.
wait,
That's the certified letter.
Right. yep,
So if that needs to be abutted or 200 feet or certified,
Alright,
not certified. You know that.
all right, let's look at it.
This is A.
Okay,
Just three comments, Andrew, for you. And first, like seriously, well done. There's been ongoing for years. The amount of work Tracy put in last year, the amount of work you put in this year, the shade tree, like, well done to everybody involved in this, because this is not easy. Andrew, in section 4 for exemptions, I was talking to Rob about this. Can we make it a little bit clearer, like in a storm? So like if a tree comes down in a storm, like you don't have that fear of repercussion of, well, hey, could you have propped it back up and staked it? It would have been okay. Like, I'm not trying to be funny, right? But I
no,
remember House on Third Street with the storm in August hit their porch, right?
Yeah.
So just given the
some
flexibility. there.
natural occurrences, right?
Perfect.
That, I want to bring up one thing, hazard tree. All right, so hazard trees are trees that are dead or not safe. And the only person that can decide a hazard tree is Fairhaven's designated licensed tree expert. And if your tree is a hazard tree, you don't have to plant a new tree or pay the fee. That's the
You don't have to pay the report or the fee.
Yeah.
fee. So if it's a dead tree, you can take it down. You pay an application fee,
Mhm.
but you don't pay $500 or whatever. If it's a healthy tree, it's not a hazard tree, and you can't game it, it's licensed tree expert, then you're doing replacement.
Right, but here's the reason I'm bringing it up, right? From an insurance practicality perspective, tree falls on the roof. As a homeowner, it's your responsibility to prevent any further damage and remove it, right? Right, whether you have a leak, whether you have something coming through your roof, you got to put a tarp over it, et cetera, right? So with the resident on Third who had the tree fall from their neighbor's yard into their porch. We're not gonna wait for the LTE to come out and say, hey, you know what?
Sure.
It did fall, right? So like in that instance, I wanna make sure our homeowners know they have no fear of repercussion. Yeah, get the tree off your house and prevent any further damage.
I agree. Can we put in there though that have pictures taken as well? Because that did happen once last year where a tree guy claimed that the tree came down in a storm after they were caught.
And it didn't.
That's right.
So they need to provide.
Next, I'm almost done. Appendix A, and I'll look, Andrew, for you to echo or challenge or whatever. For the approved list, I believe the Shade Tree's done a phenomenal job of upkeeping like a website and a document on this. So I think it'd be good just to reference a website that's maintained and monitored as opposed to an ordinance, which we know that these sometimes.
Where's this true?
Last
Very
page.
back page. So my view is appendix A is owned by the Shade Tree Commission.
Copy that.
They can either say, you can't plant these invasive trees, or we want you to plant these trees. This is how you take care of the trees. Trees are super valuable, whatever they want to say.
Totally get it. All I'm saying is we've seen where state has trumped local guidance,
Yeah.
right? We've seen where lists have changed. And in order to preserve, the accuracy of the ordinance, if the lists that are maintained by those professional bodies are referenced, as opposed to actually putting them in,
Yeah.
it will keep this cleaner longer.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So you want me to reference the state statute?
I mean, there's the state statute, the shade tree came up with the list, I forget the Google Drive or the Google website, there's multiple.
You can get that
Lists.
information from Christie and the commissioners of Shade Tree.
Sounds good.
And then the last one that I wanted to bring up, if coming back to specimen, what if on the application for the tree, right, when you submit an application, you identify if it's a specimen or a heritage tree? And if it does, then that either sparks it to go to like the shade tree for a review or to the governing body for review. We're talking 8 trees, I'm assuming it's 8 residents out of 2,200, right? So it's what, 0.4%?
Somewhere on public property.
Okay, even less residents impacted, right? So what if that was like, was that discussed? What if that's a happy medium? You would-
I mean, all angles were discussed. My instinct is, again, sort of put a pin in it, and that shade tree.
I trust you guys. You guys spend all the time in meetings. I trust you guys. Okay.
And we'll sort it out. It may take a year or two, though. I mean, it's a complicated topic.
Yeah.
And a lot of us have been looking at other towns' ordinances. I've been looking at ones in North Carolina and
Do they
Indiana.
have designated heritage trees?
I haven't seen that. I've seen other things.
Did Little Silver do that when they're new?
I believe they did. Oh, top of my head.
Sometimes the tree has a historic, so maybe it's like the 2 that are planted on Bicentennial Hall. Those were planted in memoriam, I think, back when it was renamed Bicentennial Hall. Yeah, not that one, but they're not of a dimension that makes them specific, a heritage tree, but they do have a cultural historical significance.
Sure. That brings up a good point. Councilman Cole brings up, is this applies to borough property trees as well? It's
Yeah.
meant, the state requires it meant private and public property.
Yes.
It's everybody.
So how does that work? Just because there is no mention specifically of the borough, like obviously we have to follow this, but it's not saying like, we're not gonna pay, I mean, we're paying ourselves, like.
Well, there's one point in here, and I can't pull it up for you, and I know you want me to, where, it talks about the borough having the ability to remove trees, especially if they're of a hazardous, if they're designated as hazardous, which is something our insurance requires us to maintain a list of hazardous trees and a schedule of pruning properly or removal. So I just wanna, I don't know if that wants to be separated, just because a hazardous tree that's in the public right of way or on public land, while it falls within the jurisdiction of the Shade Tree Commission because it's on public land, it really is managed by the borough officials. So yeah, I'm adding to the things that need to be captured and addressed in a way that you feel is appropriate as our attorney, but that's an ongoing function of staff for really to keep our insurance properly kept up. Different than a hazardous tree on private property, which obviously needs to be removed if the applicant comes, if they apply or if it falls on its own. So the original thought was there's a place where it talks about how the borough can remove a tree, but it doesn't say the borough was responsible for replanting. And in that we're requiring residents to replant for removal, maybe the borough should also be replanting. We more or less are by creating a shade tree trust fund, but it doesn't happen as a 1-for-1. If it can be considered as more intentional, then it would allow the Shade Tree Commission to kind of continue to track and catalog those trees. They are our major resource center for tree related information.
We should hold the borough, yeah.
I was gonna say, if we want to make that explicit, we could expand the definition of resident, Q, and include, for the purposes of this ordinance, it includes the borough.
You didn't go to law school?
I read bond documents.
Are you just Esquire or JD?
Oh, what's the difference again?
Sorry.
JD is a graduate and that's why you're actually admitted. to
Definitely
the board.
Can I give an
JD.
example that I just want to see how that would work with the borough? So not to bring up a
That's good, Drew.
topic, but Anyway, properties that we own, so say 21 Fairhaven Road or the property that that got pretty much clear cut recently. How would this ordinance avoid that from happening again?
My
Well,
reading of
can I-
this is,
can I-
this doesn't protect trees. And, or even clear cutting, it doesn't prohibit anything, there's just a application process to allow it. And you correct me if that's not the intention,
Well, I think it does protect trees.
so
It
everything
protects,
over
it protects the canopy, not individual trees. So
in
that
the
was
year replanting,
in the year replanting, yes, that was the,
and possibly the 8 heritage trees that are out there as an idea.
yeah, that
But
was.
exist, but there's no, if I read it correctly, I didn't see any prohibited action. It, I'll go a step further and say, one thing that did trouble me is that it looks like an applicant, either a person, I think it was stated resident, but a person or company can apply to remove a street tree, which is in the public right of way, and really only the municipality really has jurisdiction over.
No, I think they can apply, but they can apply to remove a street tree, but it has to be approved. Let's see, we just talked about that today.
I just don't know
There's a-
why we would allow anyone to remove a street tree unless it happened to fall into that hazardous category and was a problem to our community, in which case we'd be captured and dealt with by
Well,
staff.
every time they apply, they have to pay. That's the first thing. The second thing is they have to apply. It sounds like that can be denied, correct?
They can.
What-
And there's
what
no
happens-
appeal process. So if they want to apply a second time, they have to pay.
So no tree shall be removed until municipal officials have reviewed and approved the tree removal application and issued an approved tree removal permit.
Why would you grant a, well, let's just say a worst case scenario, a builder comes in and says, you know, I want to put my for sale sign there, and so I want permission to remove the street tree, which feels egregious, but, and so this builder makes application to remove a town street tree. Why?
Well, no, it's
why-
not saying it's the town's street tree. A street tree can just be, like, all of my trees on Kemp
Mhm,
are within the right of way.
yeah,
So that's considered a street tree then.
yeah,
So they could be removed. Someone can make that application to have them removed because they are in the right of way. So why would we not allow a resident to?
because the right of way is public domain and the tree is performing a public function.
But he planted it.
I planted the tree.
It wasn't there before.
Is that your property still?
It's like a permanent easement, essentially, the way you look at it, the right of way.
But does the tree become your, is it still your property?
My property. But you could, the town can use it as they wish.
And you could remove it.
I'd have to make an application because.
And we have to approve it.
And what are the criteria for approval?
So it says there's different criteria for large tree removal and non-large tree removal. And the criteria is that you meet the requirements of the ordinance, which is you're gonna either replace the trees, hazard trees, or make a deposit to the street tree trust fund.
There's no criteria, it's just, I wanna take this one down and I'll plant some new ones or put some money in it. I'll help you out.
That's correct.
Just any tree could come down as long as I'm willing to put some money in the tree bank.
Yes,
But that is the,
Those would have to be approved,
they have to be approved.
the street trees.
But there's no,
The different
but in
designations.
general, there's no reason, there's nothing saying you can't.
That's
There's
right.
nothing protecting any tree. As
So-
of this ordinance, that's your point, right?
If you're defining it as black and white of saying you can't, yes, but you have to look at the combination of the mitigating controls to prevent it.
No, but no, it doesn't matter, mitigating controls, like, if you want a tree down, you're gonna get a tree down, you just have to be willing to pay the money or put another tree up.
I
Yes.
think that's the gist, and which is,
I don't think it's that simple.
that's,
It is, cause
it is, but and we could talk about it more, obviously, but, that's my sense, the reason
Can I-
I'm gonna, just a moment, and I'll stop talking so you can,
sorry.
you know, back to the bigger question of property rights and community rights, to simplify things, something that benefits the public and the individual property rights. This is the nut of the debate, how to get it right. I'm not saying I have the answer, but it's possible that we may need a little more protection than what this proposes. If the first ordinance feels like it went too far for some, maybe this one has gone too far the other way for some as well. I don't know whether it's heritage trees or leave the street trees to the municipality. I don't know that an individual, whether it's a builder or a property owner. Yeah, I'm struggling with that one, but maybe I would need a little more time to think it through. This doesn't seem right that an individual can make an application to remove a street tree, but that's because I look at it as having a public benefit that is more about the neighborhood and the community as a whole.
You also have to look at it and, you know,
Unless it's hazardous disease and a threat or something, you know, obviously, then it
but
needs to be.
if someone wants to plant different types of trees, a
Mhm.
different type of barrier. So our current ordinance, you can remove a tree and there's very little of any penalties. This is taking it to a step where I have to actually look at whether you're even allowed to, because issuing a summons, this would exceed our maximum allowable as per our enforcement
Fines.
fine for the fines. I mean, you're talking about fines of $4,000. I mean, that's
I did see that.
it's a consequence of magnitude, you know, it's a consequence of magnitude is how, you know, courts, you know.
Well, take the
define it.
trees on Buttonwood, for example, you know,
I do have a question, and Chris, I want to give you time.
or the cherry trees.
What I'm trying to wrap my head around though is, and I mean this in the most respectful way. The shade tree chopped on it. You had multiple different stakeholders from state, county, and they all assessed that this struck a balance, right?
Yes.
But
Okay,
it has to be a balance that we agree is accurate for the community as a whole.
right,
And
but
I-
aren't they all the professionals though? Isn't
Our
the
stakeholders?
the
They're
straight
residents
trees?
like us.
Well, hang on, like the shade tree is like appointed members, right, that oversee all their commission, right? Then the DEP is a state entity. Who else did you,
New Jersey Shade Tree Federation.
right? So all these entities are like,
Sherry was involved.
aren't they at the forefront experts like of this space? Like, I'm not trying to be funny, Brian, but like,
Yeah.
and like, I'm not one personally to like, I'm all about practicality, but I'm not like to challenging like what they're saying, like.
I guess it's worth having a conversation, because I see our street trees as playing not just a benefit for the private property owner, but for the public as well. And maybe I'm the only person that thinks that way, but that's part of what I'm contributing here tonight. And if it has value, it has value.
So
But if it doesn't, it doesn't.
my only question is, all right, so you said that the cherry trees, I don't believe are on anyone's personal property unless I'm thinking about oak trees. The buttonwood trees, I understand your point. I guess my argument against that would be, you know, they had to take down some of those trees on Bunwood. Obviously I live on Bunwood, just throwing it out there. That were diseased, so they had to get rid of them. I mean, the residents on Bunwood are sitting there begging for more trees to be planted in the place of where they were not planted. I don't think there's a resident on Bunwood Drive, you know, developer, anyone that doesn't recognize the not only historical significance, but the impact that those trees make on the street. So
But that's not really the role of like,
When you're writing an
You're
ordinance,
writing, yeah.
not specific to.
the ordinance has to protect it.
I'm giving you a
I already know.
reaction to the action. I'm trying to think of when you talk about street trees across the borough, I don't see this as big of an issue as you do. I don't think there's that many significant street trees actually outside of Bunwood Drive that are gonna necessitate us to, most of the street trees that are in are actually put in there by the residents that live in the house. So.
But but I guess to Tracy, to Councilwoman Cole's point is that if they did so choose, they would come and there would be nothing that can tell us not.
But they would still have to follow the
They still have to
replacement
follow it.
schedule,
But
which
they
is
don't have to-
better than what we have right now.
They don't have to leave the tree.
Mature street trees provide shade and lend to livability and walkability. There are all these things. It's not just about the
Water
tree
retention.
Yeah,
But
and it's, to me, it's an important point where we're talking about the public right of way. And maybe that's unique, it's not private property, it's not a park. It's where our streets and sidewalks are, and
Totally get it.
that's a unique corridor that probably need perhaps a little special attention, because I don't really have the answer tonight. I'm not coming to propose some specific language around it, just think it is a unique, we all think that tree-lined streets lend to the beauty and livability of Fairhaven. And I don't want to see it become easy, regardless of the fees and your point about the cost. I don't want it to become easy to lose street trees.
But this is the thing, I can go right now and cut down any street tree I want, and all you can do is follow the ordinance and write me maybe a disorderly person's offense. But that's not the truth, right? So this ordinance puts in more protections in place, but if I wanted to go cut down all my trees, all you have the ability to do is issue me whatever type of fine that the current ordinance provides.
I
This
think-
is more specific.
I don't think you can take down a street tree. Just,
No, and I'm
But to be
take
here,
it to another level, I can just cut down a tree. Like we say that.
to do this, though, this is the
have
minimum
to-
of what we
we
have
have
to do, so to say like, yes, but by the state, we have to do this, at a minimum, we have to hand this as it is in, because we can't do any less than this.
well, hold
Right.
on, we have a tree ordinance. As you know.
But, right, no.
My first question for our attorney would be, does the current ordinance we have meet the state's stormwater regulations?
No.
Are we?
No, that's why we're doing this.
Are you sure? Which are the components that cause us to fall out of compliance?
But no one likes that.
I'll have to review that, I mean, it's
But
gonna,
it's a fair question,
But,
Josh.
but why is the current, obviously, like years ago, we set out on a path to redo our ordinance because the current ordinance is antiquated and lousy.
I
So
think
why
there
are we talking about an
problems
old
with it.
ordinance and whether it
Meets.
meets the criteria of the state when we have an already much better ordinance sitting right in front of us that we just need to tweak? And that's why we're sitting here in workshop today to get it to a point of introduction at the next meeting. And I'm not even saying that after the next two meetings, when we actually vote on it, that we don't continue to discuss it. That's like every other, my living breathing. It's a living breathing document, but to sit here and rest our laurels on the old ordinance, I mean, the old ordinance has just given us all grief, the entire borough of Fairhaven, going back years.
I'm very specific about the things that I don't like about our current ordinance. I can list them for you. I don't like the appeals come here. I don't like that our taxpayers are paying for the reports. I don't like that it doesn't pay for itself. These are things that can be addressed and should probably be in anything we decide to do if it's gonna be new. But understanding what ways we're not in compliant would help us make sure that we're doing what's right for Fairhaven, as well as considering that the state needs us to do.
one of the important things to note, though, is this ordinance that's been presented by the Shade Tree and Brian, is that would be in full compliance with the state law. So that's one thing to go off of. If we want to add things and tweak that, as the mayor said, I'm all for it.
Mm.
Do I think we're gonna be able to introduce this at the next meeting? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to workshop this one more time. I'm just being honest with you. Let me put this into ordinance form,
Yeah,
take into account everything that people have stated tonight,
Mhm.
and let's workshop it again. You know, I think 23rd is the next meeting.
yes. There's a couple more, small
Um,
points. At least,
Oh,
sorry,
I forgot.
Kristen one.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, I don't, when I first read this ordinance, one thing I don't want to lose sight of is that my first takeaway when I read this was that what this ordinance does is it essentially creates a succession plan of constant trees, young, medium age, and old. So there's constant planting of trees. So while yes, the homeowner has the right in this ordinance to either replant or put money in a trust, which then goes toward more tree planting, at the end of the day, this ordinance is actually encouraging the replanting of new trees. So to me, this is almost like the way you would run an organization. You want young analysts coming right out of college. You want mid-career folks, and then you want some folks who have been in the organization for a while that have institutional knowledge. To me, this is exactly what this shade tree ordinance reads. And yes, there are going to be some tweaks that need to be made, but I am not at all taking away from this thinking, oh my God, the homeowner can do what they want. I'm thinking, oh my God, I can only imagine what Fairhaven is going to look like in 50 years. It's going to be green, it's going to be lush, it's going to be beautiful. That's my takeaway. So thank you to everybody who worked on this, and that was a tremendous amount of effort. Thank you.
I wanted to, and I don't know if we want to stay in the weeds here for much longer, but the trust fund, there's language in it that says it will be used for the replanting of trees, which is what Councilwoman Helmy was just saying, and I do agree with it. And maintenance, and I would suggest that we strike maintenance as it's not in the spirit of the replanting, and we all know the removal and or pruning of a tree costs a great deal more. Sometimes 5-10 times more than what's in the tree. We want those trust fund dollars to go far. Right now, it says, I don't know.
So I would push back on that. I would argue that if the Shade Tree Trust Fund could spend $10,000 on maintaining 1,000 trees and keeping them alive, let's say there's a disease or something, as opposed to if they're forced to just plant new tree, wait for the tree for the disease to die and then replace fewer trees, I would defer to them and let them decide. It's a passionate group that has a lot of knowledge. I trust that they will decide how to allocate their money in the best way. They all want, and I'm on the thing too, we all want a large canopy, healthy. And I wouldn't want to restrict them.
I agree.
So right now, we have the Department of Public Works that does help maintain our trees and canopy on our public lands. And that's what their budget and their specialized knowledge and manpower.
And that doesn't change.
Yeah, so, again, I would suggest that maintenance shouldn't fall, which those dollars could easily, become misallocated. I'm just thinking that ideally, if we use it for just planting, we doesn't get exhausted by maintenance and work.
It doesn't say that they have to use it in maintenance, it says they can use for as they see fit.
I believe it says maintenance.
It says replanting or maintenance. So it gives them the flexibility to decide how they best want to use the funds.
Well, that would be one of those ones I'd want to come back to. If you're, I hear you insisting. But maybe I could talk to some shade tree commissioners and see what they have to say about it. Apparently, it could cost $7,000 to remove the tree. I don't want to see the trust fund used to remove trees under the guise of maintenance.
I
I
want,
think it's not in the spirit of the trust.
I want to see the trust fund used the way that the Shade Tree Commission feels best.
If the Shade Tree Commission feels it's best to remove a cherry tree, plant a new one, I would be in support of, that allocation of funds.
So if a cherry tree is failing, that presumably is gonna show up on our borough list of, our hazardous inventory list, which becomes a borough responsibility that is already accounted for in our budget under DPW. Again,
But not all the time. We're gonna have maybe one Fairhaven Road.
so it's, again,
Look what happened on Buttonwood Drive, we're still sitting there without trees.
well, that's for planting. I think that would be good to use the trust fund to plant the
But the
trees.
trees were taken down already for maintenance as well.
I think we should, the shade tree commission, they're gonna need some professional guidance. That planting trench is gonna need to be specially designed. It's not as though the commission can just go out and put some, trees in there, but, they do have Shari or a Shari to help them with that, but I don't know how much money we're gonna end up in there. And I also think we should make sure it's used for planting trees. This is all about maximizing the canopy. I'll just leave my position there. We don't need to debate it. that's my position. I'm fine alone in that, so be it.
Okay.
All I have. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Um. Utilities. Trump the town. So like JCP&L
I
leases,
believe so that's an exemption, it's a part of the definitions if it's utility.
and ideally, we don't have any
Yeah, we don't.
say, control anywhere that there's utility lines when it comes to trees and planting, right?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because we had. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
One thing that hasn't been said, but maybe it's understood, but I think for, in terms of enforcement, personnel and cost assessment, while I know our municipal attorney is gonna work on this, I would like to please ask directly our borough administrator to look at how best to staff, handle enforcement, where that comes from. You know, hopefully it doesn't need a new employee, but maybe it's an expanded role for an employee. We want to factor that into our decision making. Thank you.
Good. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
once again, thank you to everyone for all the hard work you put into this ordinance. Absolutely fantastic, and we look forward to, you know, as Councilwoman Hoey said, this is an investment in the future maximization of our canopy. And, the next generation of Fairhaven, you know, 10, 15, 20 years from now, we'll see the dividends, you know, from the hard work and effort that you all put into this. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
So Mayor, question, if the Shade Tree Commission members that are here want to comment on this discussion, they do that at the.
Public comments on agenda items only. We still have to get through, moving right along here. 2 more workshop items proposed, 2025 council meeting dates. I'll open that up to anyone, if anyone has any issues with any of the dates as presented.
I'll jump in. I would like to propose adding one of these meetings, maybe around the summertime at the fire department. I think the council meeting we had there, while there's room for improvement such as the meeting location, everything, offered a phenomenal time for education, discussion, and whatnot. So
Maybe a different time of year.
How about upstairs?
yeah, and air conditioning.
That was hot. They
So-
liked having it there.
If folks are cool with that, I'd like to work with Allison and Chief Sapanti.
I only picked up one thing, that I didn't have the whole rest of the calendar for 2025, but there's a school break that ends just before the May 27th proposed meeting date. If we push, it's very hard to go away on vacation and come back immediately the next day and be prepared for a council meeting. Some of you with school age children, you know, travel plans are dictated by the kids' school schedule. So that was the only thing I picked up, that if we pushed out May 27th. Well, I'm open to any suggestions. I thought we could push it out a week, but then we'd have to bump the others.
Yeah.
Right now, it's all sort of ideas, but I'd leave it to Allison really, but the day after is kind of hard.
It's Memorial Day, right? That one there.
That's
Yeah.
The problem is that
Pushing it out a
it's
week.
2 weeks there.
the
Until-
27th.
You know, the election's the next day.
Until you get to June 23rd.
Are you at May?
What about just a Wednesday?
Yeah, we could do that.
Does that help at all?
We could do the Wednesday, or we could push back the June 9th and June 23rd meetings 1 week. Because there's a 3-week break between June and July.
Either scenario.
Do we want to vote on the Tuesday? Do we want to vote on the Tuesday? I personally, I don't mind the Tuesday. It doesn't bother me, but it's up to you guys. It's okay with me.
We can do May 12th, 1 meeting in May and 3 in June. Is that what you're saying?
If we were to move it, the 27th would go to the next week. So it would go to like June 2nd, and then you would move the 9th to the 16th.
I think that's,
Is that another break?
oh, sorry, no.
No,
It's like,
that's snow day stuff.
yeah.
And then you would move the 23rd to the 30th, and then you would have a gap between the 30th and July 14th. You'd still have a 2-week break.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Kristen, would that work for you?
Sure.
So it's 3 in June. The 3 Mondays in June, the
Tuesday.
2nd, 16th, and 30th.
The third is the primary election.
The 30th
The third
of,
June.
uh-huh,
And this is
So
the
June
last-
2nd is a
So
lot,
we have
so
a council meeting and it goes till 1 o'clock and I have to be here at 5.
gotcha.
So do you want to just keep it where it is and we can even get a quorum where we can?
It's fine.
Well, let's just keep it as it is then. If we can get a quorum, great.
Okay, if we have to amend it as we get closer, we can always.
The one I flagged was just that in January, it seems like a big break between the 2nd and the 27th.
It's that way every year.
It's the way we do it, okay.
why is it in 4? Or do we have to choose one,
Where
the
are you?
2nd or the 6th of January?
Well, Thursday, it's a Thursday and zoning board usually meets then unless they push out. So we have to reorganize within the first 7 days of January.
Mhm.
So the first Monday would be the 6th.
Because the fire department swears in on the 1st no matter what, right?
Correct.
So we don't
They
really
have
have that.
nothing.
I like the 6th.
I love this.
September 22nd is Rosh Hashanah. I'm fine with it, but there might be members of the community
Did I miss them?
that are not. And there's a 3-week gap there.
Mm,
So I didn't know if you want to move that one back.
for the 15th.
We
If I had that wrong,
You want me to look it up?
September 22nd.
So the 15th instead, you're saying?
It's September 22nd.
No, you'd move it back 1 week to like September 29th,
September 22nd
Oh,
is the first
actually.
night.
right?
Yeah.
That's enough. Yeah,
So you want to go the 29th?
that would be
Yeah.
what I would recommend unless there's a conflict there.
And then the school, I sent
Yeah.
the proposed, school calendar so that I could set up the
Oh,
student government meeting. They're looking at March 10th, but it still has to be run by the.
worth noting, March 24th is my daughter's birthday, just, very
Take
important.
care.
We already had a discussion about this, so.
So if you run a day, then you can have dinner at night.
Yeah.
Depends on them, but
March 24th,
No,
wait,
no,
you say
that's-
March 10th is the null one.
it's not set in stone. That's,
Okay.
I'm waiting
I
for
got
them to get back.
I got you. All right, any other,
Mm-mm.
everyone's good with that?
So we're changing, are we meeting May 27th or are we going?
We decided to leave it and
Yeah.
we'll figure out if we have a forum when we get closer, I guess.
And what, January 6th?
January 6th and then September 29th if it's Rosh Hashanah.
Okay, good. All right, moving along, funding for Fisk Chapel parking lot paving. If Chris or Drew, Chris,
Actually, we'll have Nancy talk first, because Nancy can explain it.
Okay, so we have to, just obviously discuss the funding for Fisk Chapel. When this was originally discussed and the idea came up that we were gonna be responsible for the improvements to the parking lot, a phone call was made to our bond council and just stated, we do not own. No, documents were presented or anything of that nature. Based on the information that our bond council had, that we don't own the property, they at that time stated we could not use any bonded capital. It would all have to be pay as you go. Fast forward, we're having meetings, Eli brings up the fact, are you sure we can't use bonded capital? It's a permanent easement.
Yep.
So I went back to bond council, provided all of the documents that we had regarding that, and they advised us that we can use bonded capital. With that being said, we have a couple options. Currently, everything is encumbered under pay as you go. We have 40, well, not numbers, but we have our soft costs for the architect, and then we have the hard costs for the improvements. The amount that we have encumbered for the improvements, there's concern that it may not be enough. And if we use the rest of pay as you go, then we're using the rest of pay as you go, which leaves nothing for any other purchases. So we have, in my thought, we have 3 options. We can, first continue using pay as you go. Number 2, we can reappropriate funds from ordinance 2023. There's currently funds in hard costs and soft costs that can be reappropriated and still leave enough funds for what is remaining. Or three, which I think a few of us that have had conversations about this feel is the way to go, is to use a mix of pay-as-you-go and bonded capital. The reason for that is it allows us to, you know, use funded capital for a portion of it, which is a good thing. But it also doesn't use up all of our pay-as-you-go capital. We didn't do small ticket items last year for our department heads. We would like to be able to do some this year. There's some requests out there that are valid and needed. So we don't want to use all the pay-as-you-go capital for the Fisk Chapel parking lot.
Is there a recommendation from the finance committee on this?
So unfortunately, we have not been able to get the finance committee together in a meeting. So there is not a formal recommendation.
That's okay.
Our Administrator York and I did have a brief discussion with Drew, just because he happened to be in the area. You know, we are all of the thought, the three of us are of the thought that you know, the mixture of pay-as-you-go and bond capital would be the best way to go. But no, unfortunately, we've not been able to.
Yeah, just to add on that, we are looking at dates to get the finance committee to get together this month. So we will be having a meeting with them to discuss the 2025 budget, and obviously it's one of the items we will discuss as well.
And the reason this is coming to you as a workshop item is because no matter which way we decide to go, it does require an ordinance. And as we all know, ordinances require 2 meetings, and we are going to need to move forward on Fisk Chapel as soon as it's ready. So we didn't want to hold this until we could get the committee together when it would still have to come to the full council. So we felt it was better to just bring it right to you. So this way we can get to our bond council, let them know what our thoughts are, what we want to do, and move forward with the ordinance.
I for one think it's necessary to retain some.
I agree.
pay-as-you-go.
Hands down.
Yeah,
So,
makes sense to me.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea, the added expense that we found for doing that parking lot has to do with stormwater mitigation.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a large part
And
of
it's
it.
a large portion, which was not factored in originally. But you know, speaking with Eli, the architect, there is significant stormwater mitigation that needs to go on that property. So that's where the added cost comes from.
Does it involve, we could talk about it at another meeting. It's involved tie-ins, you know what, we'll just
No,
save the engineering conversation for
That's
that.
exactly right. But the tie-in system is under the parking lot where PD is, so
Mhm.
if they upsize that, that would go,
It'll help.
but that would go to the PD.
That would go to Pete.
Yeah, there, we don't know yet. We haven't gotten anything
So
back
it's not
from,
decided.
we haven't got anything back from Rick Lear. We
Okay.
moved to church 3 weeks ago, right? Remember, like, this is pure, this is extremely proactive, which is great. I love it.
Okay. So then the next question is, that we need to discuss is percentages. My recommendation is 40 pay-as-you-go, 60 on the hard costs. Soft costs remain under pay-as-you-go. Hard costs 40% pay-as-you-go, 60% bond account.
What does it leave, what does it leave left over? Assume it costs 300 grand, how much money's left
So
over?
if we're just sticking with what's currently encumbered.
Yeah,
We are left with just over $200,000 in pay-as-you-go.
Can we talk numbers? So what do we bond for and how much more are we talking about this over that cost?
So we're not, the recommendation is not to bond for any more funds. We're not looking to add
understand.
debt.
I
Right.
think she wants to know.
So
How much
currently,
more?
currently we have 2.65 million in hard costs available in bonded capital. And then we have 2.5 in soft costs for bonded capital. My recommendation would be to reappropriate some of the soft costs to the Fisk Chapel parking lot. Pay as you go, we currently have 340,000 total encumbered, 40 for soft costs, 300 for the improvements, which would leave us with a remaining 200,000 in pay as you go capital.
Sorry, so I understand we had the
No,
original
that's what's
estimate,
currently, I'm sorry, Kristen.
the original estimate for the parking lot improvements is 300K? Is that what?
Correct.
250.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
And we're anticipating that this new estimate is gonna come in significantly higher than that. We don't have a final estimate.
The reason why we don't have a final estimate yet, Kristen, is because we're still in negotiations with the elders over at
Right.
If it's church, because, they're still not 100% sold on the parking lot design, and there's still some.
So is it
you know,
hard to
logistics.
make a determination as to what to bond, or sorry, where to pull from if we don't have that estimate yet? Are we talking 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand?
So the recommendation would be my recommendation would be to go to the higher amount. If we don't use it, it cancels back to where it was. And also keep in mind that this is not permanent financing. So until we're into permanent financing, this is all notes. So it's a lot easier to give to a project, and then if that project doesn't require that, then we just don't do the permanent financing.
Can I just ask one clarifying one? If 40% of 300,000 we drew down from pay-as-you-go's capital, what's left?
So what's 40% of 300,000? I'm not a math.
120.
I need a help.
120,000.
Six.
Thanks. So 136, it's 164 plus 200, that leaves us 364.
364 grand in pay-as-you-go capital, and that covers both small ticket and any large ticket items.
That covers small ticket and any, well, any large items, yes.
And that doesn't, and that 360 and change, whatever it doesn't include the 75,000 for the police car, right?
Correct.
So that's already taken.
That's already encumbered separate.
Okay. Okay.
Are you looking for an answer right now?
I'm good with the 60-40 split,
Yes.
but Brian, I mean, like,
Yeah, I think that's appropriate,
yeah,
based on what I heard.
Have to have at least 200.
yeah, I want to keep a little.
Pay as you go, so.
So then what I'll do is I'll reach out to bond council, they'll work up an ordinance, it will be presented.
Chris, can we reach out? Let's talk offline and let's even get updated cost estimates.
Yep.
And it'd also be good to know if they're gonna upgrade the stormwater infrastructure at the PD to offset the stormwater at this chapel, what that extra cost will be as well.
Well, but that would be,
PT.
that would just remain under P.
No, understood, but it still would be good to know that, right?
Conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just making sure,
Yeah, no, understood, right? And that's, because I know there's 3. I don't know what you call them, Richmond knows, but 3 things in the parking lot under the ground. Thank you, 3 recharge points.
thank you.
Did we have any, I guess, foresight that this might happen? And I know that we paid, what was it, 25-30K for the parking lot originally. Did we have any foresight that this cost would have ballooned to be what it is now?
The estimate that we received last year was $250,000 to enhance the parking lot as discussed. This year, it was assessed that wasn't high enough.
Basically, it was stormwater.
Because
Well, the
it's stormwater.
yeah, design wasn't part of the original cycle,
There, it was minimal.
right? But it is smart to upgrade.
Just,
Stormwater is the trigger word for me, but, so.
Oh, my God.
How do we avoid that moving forward, though? Like, why wasn't that stormwater piece of it in these plans?
Well, the stormwater piece was in the PD community center plan.
But not in this chapel parking lot plan, so.
That's not entirely true, right?
Yeah.
So there were stormwater enhancements made in the infrastructure.
I remember that.
After further discussions with the church and the amount of water that they reveal is butting up against the facilities, the borough didn't want to leave it to chance to be liable, that if we didn't upsize the stormwater causing water damage to the buildings. So that data point, right, which was predicated on a conversation with the church, didn't come up until 2 months ago. Right, it was
Got it.
assessed that the stormwater infrastructure at the PD was more than enough to handle it.
Yeah.
And to add, if the stormwater infrastructure at the PD is upgraded and you can effectively tie in the, use the word,
Storm drain.
yeah, the storm drains from the chapel to there, then the stormwater infrastructure price will increase at the PD, not at the church.
That
But it
makes
was-
sense. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I painted the basement and I know that was
Yeah.
a major issue.
To chapel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's chapter,
to
yeah.
chapel.
This is now the public comment on agenda items only portion of the meeting. Please try to observe a three-minute time limit. Please stand and identify yourself by clearly stating your name and address for the record. And I just want to mention that it's 8:32. The Jets game's got to be 4 plays in. I haven't got a text that the quarterback went down yet, so there you go. That's a positive. Is there anyone else with a public comment on agenda items only?
Still a Jets fan.
Anyone? Sure, come on. Well,
Made me feel bad, but yeah, you can speak.
oh, no, that's, I was just making a joke. I'm not making, I thought you were saying it wasn't nice that he said I'm still a Jets fan.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay.
Are you a Jets fan?
I think I should take.
Wow, small guy.
Sweet fan.
Smart
I just wanted to, the point that everybody, wait, thank you for all your input and reading through and all the great suggestions. The specimen tree, when I read the current ordinance, it does cover, we have significant specimen and specimen in here. And when the code enforcement officer and the designee by the borough administrator are looking at the applications, they consider that. That is a consideration, whether it is a specimen tree. And I think it still should be, because they are just so much more important. And the big tree hunt, that is something by the state. I think that's mostly just awareness for big trees and to make people proud that they have them on their property. I don't think it was ever, point was to, limit people or make it a restricted thing. It was more of a pride thing and a recognition. So I think that right now it's trees that are 10 inches in diameter, that are considered a large tree. Or this 60% of the largest tree in Monmouth County, which is always kind of I don't know who identifies that. I mean, I almost think it should be something that is identified every year for every species of tree or something, so it's easily found to compare to. I do think it's very important that we have something, and I know there are several members of the Shade Tree Commission that agree with me that this should be included in our ordinance. It's in here now, in what we have. There are a lot of considerations in here now for why a tree should be recommended not to be cut down. And I think that what has happened is that the licensed tree expert said it should be cut down, so then people came to appeal to the council. And you didn't want to say, well, if it's, you want it down, if it's dangerous or, so I just think it's, should still be considerations for large trees in our ordinance. And I hope that you can incorporate that in here. I mean, and as much as I appreciate that, Drew, you call us experts, we're not experts. I mean, we are just residents that were asked to look at this. And I think it's super important, when the first time that this ordinance was reviewed, Greg Cannon reviewed the whole thing, wrote this legal document that then was sent to this group to review. So I think the legal part of it is super, super, super important. And we can't really move forward until that, you've done a really thorough job to make sure that, this is protected. And I do think that you should look hard at the one that's on the books, because I don't think it's that horrible. The only thing that's horrible is that the fees aren't there. We don't have a tree bag. But it does talk about stormwater, it does, so it's not pointless. But it would be great to be able to get fees to plant new trees. And also, I kind of agree with Tracy saying, I really do want to use it to plant trees. And we kind of have to make a commitment at the town, because in the past, I don't think there was planting trees was embraced, because they died or we had to water them. But I think we need to kind of change our attitude that this is a really important thing, and we need to get that water truck out there. We need to get to the DPW and say, not add on to their work, but make this an important part of their job to, take care of these trees. I mean, they work really hard to do it. I know they do. So anyway, that's just my.
Question. Bonnie, what was, you'll know this better than me. Fairhaven was pretty high on like the heat map index, weren't we?
Yeah.
Like compared to
Well, that's
other
a
towns
consideration
around
in here
us.
too, is where the tree is and what canopy is around it. And I
Yeah.
think that should still be a consideration. I mean, I look at the Sunoco station. I mean,
Yeah,
if and when that ever happens, there are 2 huge oak trees that are right there that probably should have been protected and, it's gonna be, there are not many trees around that area and they're right on the street. They're quite fair. So, you know, Little Silver just spent a lot of time doing this ordinance. They have a really good ordinance in place. And I know right now they're scheduling a meeting with their, tree, experts, like the people who are gonna cut down trees, the landscapers, to explain the new ordinance and really try to get everybody on board. And I'd love for, you know, our borough administrators.
Yeah, Kevin Burke actually reached out to me regarding it. They're doing two of the same sessions. One's on the 23rd, that's council meeting night. They're doing one on the 30th. So I actually might go over and check it out.
Yeah, I just would love to see us work
Yeah.
with other towns and really try to collaborate.
And I can send that, if
Share.
anybody's interested in attending, I can send the invite out.
Thank you, Bonnie. Anyone else? Public comments on agenda items only? No? Allison?
Mark Olson.
Hey, Mark?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I applaud my fellow Minnesotan for putting in lots of work. My fellow Muslim for putting in lots of work. I think, you know, it's strange to sit here and agree with everybody, even though it seems like some of you weren't agreeing with each other. I think everybody on the council made some great points. And I love what Kristen said about the, taking a longer term view. On the 3rd Street Trail, we planted a couple of pin oaks in April of 2022. They were 3 feet tall at the time. They're up in the 12 to 15 foot size now, and they're going to exceed some of the other trees that we planted in there that at the time were 10, 12 feet tall. So it's amazing. And those were like $25 to $30 trees. So if you can just get some money and get some volunteers to plant some trees around town, keep them watered that first year or so, and just let, God and time just do their thing. It's not even going to take 50 years. In a very short order, you can start to make a difference in the canopy. And towards that end, I'm just trying to encourage that if you could do this thing when the applicant comes in and they have to stroke some sort of check, you can work out what that check is. And instead of code enforcement money and time trying to enforce that applicant or make sure that the applicant did the thing, just keep the money and put it on the applicant, and the applicant proves it and takes a picture and sends it back and proves that they planted the tree. There's going to be plenty of applicants in town that really aren't going to plant a tree, and they really don't care about a couple $100 or whatever that fee is. Take that money, redirect it, buy some smaller trees, let volunteers plant them and water them. I mean, it could be a beautiful combo. I don't know what the exact dollars would be, but I try and encourage you to go away from going down the path of code enforcement and then, trying to hit them up with a fine and then going to court. And that's just going to be a disaster. I just think getting that money up front, like in escrow, and have them prove it, and then have that money get redirected. And there will be plenty of volunteers that'll help plant those trees around town and maybe on private property too. So I applaud you guys. Great work. I know it's a pain in the neck and there's more steps. And I love what Josh said too about living and breathing. It's just a living and breathing document. You can amend this and just keep on amending it and keep on improving it. So hats off to all you guys. It was great work. Keep it going.
Thank you, Mark. Allison, anyone else? Hands up? All right, thank you. Oh, yes.
Michael D'Angelo, Shade Tree Commission, 36 Meets Road. I've been on the Shade Tree Commission for about 10 years. And I have an email, I was just looking through my old emails, I have an email talking to Chris Rodriguez in 2017 about this ordinance that is currently implemented. The thing is that we were always worried about, we've been talking about this, Tracy, for 4 years, is that this current ordinance had no teeth, and yes, it does mention a significant specimen tree, and it does mention a specimen tree. But I don't think anything was done to protect those trees throughout this ordinance. The ordinance that we have now, I believe, again, it's not perfect, but we are committed on the Shade Tree Commission. We've said this in our meeting time and time again, that it is a living and breathing document. We're gonna constantly look and review and see how it's working in this town. But I really think we need to pass something soon to start getting money in our coffers, to start planting trees, right? That's what we should be doing, and developing our canopy, and the heat map, you're right, is an issue, but we do have a lot of open space in Fairhaven too. But I do think we need to start getting into action, because we've been talking about this for so long. Thank you.
I want to give a special shout out to Mike D'Angelo. He was on the committee when I got there, and I was not there at the inception. So I know that that work was ongoing before I even arrived at the committee, and we've been there the whole time, and just one resident to another, putting in the time is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Anyone else, Allison? I'm good?
No.
Okay, moving along, approval of minutes, August 12th, 2024, regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second,
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Paul,
yes?
Sally,
Yes.
Chloe,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yeah.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. August 12th, 2024, executive session, and then the 20th, the special meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion.
Second,
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Paul,
yes?
Chloe. Chloe. Kristen.
Sorry, I just dropped my phone. Yes. Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. SDL update followed by a facilities update. Councilman LaBarbera.
Yep, so Councilman Koch and I, and Borough Administrator Chris, we had a kickoff call at SBL. We are unlocking, all processes associated with clerk, planning, trees, generator. And we'll be sitting down in the near term to start putting pen to paper and updating the applications, and they'll be coming back here. So super exciting stuff.
Can I ask, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask a question about this process. Because I don't understand it, how you convert it to digital, I don't really need to.
Yeah.
Except I know that, many of some of our ordinances, which are gonna end up on this platform, need cleaning up. And I'm sure we all agree now is the time to do it. We don't want to
100%.
bring over anything that's out of date or inconsistent. How are we capturing that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the process that's been discussed to date is working with staff to help inform, based on all of their engagements with residents, how the application process needs to be improved. Once you have that, then we have to see, is there misalignment in any way, shape, or form of the ordinance? And it's not gonna be clean. It's gonna be,
What's the first one?
there were 4 that were identified from the council. It was generator, it was tree removal, it was fence, and it was. Bueller?
I remember those three.
No.
Bueller,
Zone,
what we're gonna do, zoning permit. Well, they all require it right now.
well, and that was why we
Yes.
had unlocked that, because the fence permit requires that, right, and all the
Yeah,
other ones,
well,
so.
everything.
Oh, there was a
starts with
4th
that.
one,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Well, if we take one at a time, and I'm hearing myself sign up to help, but I also don't want to, because I know how arduous this is gonna be, except I know that the work really needs to get done properly.
yeah,
You're just gonna start and then see how it goes, and
yeah, because the way it works is every module within SDL has a primary point of contact, I'll call it. So the clerk module, Allison, then I think Joe Mulay's gonna be put on one, and then Nick's gonna be put on one, like, there's specific ones for them to inform, go
Is
ahead.
it street opening?
Oh, is that the number 4?
I can see the list in my head, but I don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have. it.
I'm trying to avoid, I guess at some point when there's gonna, and maybe we need to think about this, but there's gonna have to be a group on it to kind of debug the stuff before, and then it'll come back to us in the
Yeah, it
form
has
of
to come, yeah,
an ordinance to be amended. Sorry,
it's big,
this
undertaking.
is, when did it start?
I mean, we kicked off,
Before the introduction meeting, yeah, we got decided our training reps.
Okay.
so first order of business to understand like how to put the processes
Yeah.
together, it's very plug and play, like, the issue isn't gonna be putting together, like, the operational workflow of these, the issue is gonna be like the misalignment with the
Yeah.
ordinance, the issue is gonna be, hey, this the current zoning application, we really should have 3, one specifically only for generator, one specifically only for fence, one specifically for like, that's where like the real conversations, and the conversations has been centered on like empowering the staff to come up with the recommendations and on the front lines. And then, you know, cycle that up to Betsy and I, and then come back to the governing body council, just like we treated any other group.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to come back.
God bless
We're
you.
not gonna put I'm not gonna say that. We're not gonna put a automated workflow on a bad process.
Right, exactly, okay.
Facilities update.
Chief. I'm putting you on the spot.
What happened, we have the opportunity possibly to get rid of the, radio tower. Which we did not have the opportunity a year ago when the project started. There was some stuff we needed to, align, make sure it would work, and it appears that will work. But there's a cost to it, and so that's why we're here talking tonight, there's a cost to it, significant cost to it. But, it gives the opportunity to get rid of the tower, gives the opportunity to be on a better, more reliable radio frequency. It gives opportunity not to have to maintain our radio, base radios as much, because they won't be our primary radio. And there's a cost already to wire the building to the tower, which we would not have anymore. So there's a cost to moving it.
Around $7,200
Yeah.
for the current work.
Wait, how much?
$7,200,000.
Wait,
72, 100,000.
70K to 100K.
Oh.
I know it's 7,200, I was like, I don't know. The other thing, since you're for dispatch by the county, we are still on our own frequency. Out of the 25 or so towns that they dispatch for police, and I think that our budget say 25, around 25 towns. Us and Middletown are the only 2 that still have our own frequency. Which my understanding, Middletown is about to change over to the county frequency, and we'll be the only one. What's gonna happen is sooner or later, they're gonna tell us if you wanna be dispatched by, you will be on our frequency, which this would solve that problem that's coming down the line, just not right now.
And
The cost, sorry,
before you get to cost, just to rewind the tape. The council last year, we looked at getting rid of the tower. We wanted to get rid of the tower, right? Both aesthetically, all that. The tower impacted the placement of the generator. It impacted the placement of the condenser for the community center. It impacted the landscaping. So by doing this, and we don't know yet because we want to have the conversation first, it's gonna potentially unlock additional efficiencies and whatnot, right? You don't need the tower, everything's on top of the roof. You don't need the concrete pad anymore. The condenser doesn't be there. You can increase landscaping.
So can we get a breakdown of those costs before we make a decision or no?
well, I know what the cost, the approximate cost for the new system is about $200,000. But you would not spend the 70, so you spend 130 more than what you'd be paying, because
30, and then, but it sounded like there were some efficiencies.
There's some
well,
other-
if, and I've been talking to the architect, and we didn't really go too far into it, because until we know we can get rid of the tower, if the tower stays, there'd be no reason to move the generator and the condenser, because the tower is actually, so it doesn't matter. If you remove the tower, we're gonna try to see if there's a way to move the generator and the condenser, so it's not in the center.
No, I'm not giving more.
But I'm not sure that can happen.
But you don't think when we're the last ones left, the county is gonna, incentivize us?
No, no.
No way.
No,
No way.
Yeah, what they'll do is they would say,
What?
talk,
Yeah, I think they would.
that's the conversation I had. What they would do is they would, that's what they would do is they would, other towns, they basically give them loaner radios. They say, here's some loaner radios that you can have, right? And the question is, when you have a loaner radio, they own it, you can't put what frequencies you want it, meaning we couldn't put Robson, maybe Bill Silver or Redback. That's the problem with loaner radios. The other thing they won't do is they won't give you radios for your car, you know, portable, but you still would have to buy the car radio. I am not for it unless we do it right. There's towns that have done it where they've given them certain things, but it's never done right.
And the other thing too is, right, so the PD building is on track, the building, right, is on track for completion end of December, beginning of January. Site work's right behind them, right? So there's two data points that we have to keep in mind. One, the tower will come down at some point, right? Whether it's now or within the next 2 to 5 years, right, give or take. At some point,
You're going to have to move to this frequency.
correct. So, and then the second data point to keep in mind is all the cost that's gonna be sunk into doing something temporary if we just say to keep going with the current. So yes, we can get additional breakdowns and all that. I think we should have a sidebar conversation if there'll be money for the Lone Ranger on there. But
Do you think there's any grants available?
I don't believe for this.
No.
I don't believe for this. I don't think I don't think there is, and I don't think you have time. Because you'd have to make this decision really within the next month and a half. Because they have to start getting ready to
For the
wire
site
that
work.
town. So
And-
that's where we gotta move pretty quick.
And this literally changed the first week of August. Like there was a change in August
Yeah.
that happened, and then Chief did a tremendous amount of testing and whatnot, because he was told theoretically things would work, and then he actually went and tested stuff out to like be confident to come to today.
Like I said, there is some, county will help you with some stuff, but the problem is then it's kind of done. It's never done complete. Like I said, they'll loan you stuff and I just say, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right. You gotta do it.
So can we get more information in advance of the next meeting on
Sure.
details so that we can make a more informed decision? Does that work?
Yes.
Yeah, I think-
The cost of actually removing the tower too.
We didn't get into that, my radio vendor feels that is probably, there won't be any cost because someone probably want that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Check and check.
I think it's a good opportunity. I mean, you're gonna have to do it.
And I just think that next council
What's
meeting,
happening?
we have the information, but we have to have a pretty firm answer because they have to know before. The architect actually texted me when I'm sitting back here saying, what are we doing? They need to know sooner.
We'll take it offline with facilities.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate you.
Are you letting me know about that?
New business,
Yeah, sure.
introduction of ordinances, 2024-13, amend chapter 7, sections 11, no stopping or standing on certain streets during certain times, 14 parking prohibited at all times, 20 stop intersection, 21 multi-way stop intersections. Do I have any comments or does someone want to make a motion?
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmember Paul. Yes. Kim Stelling.
Yes.
Hoey. Paul Rivera.
Yes.
Holstein.
Yes. Thank you. 2024-14 supplement chapter 7 with section 43 e-bike and e-scooter regulations. I just want to point out to everyone, and I believe I didn't look at it myself to make sure it was up here. We added no cell phones while you're on the e-bikes. You see a lot of kids on the e-bikes driving around with their phones, so.
And adults, and adults.
And adults, correct.
I have a question, because this came up in my life. What about the skateboards? Like do they count as anything, like the e-skateboards? Okay,
They don't go, I don't believe they.
Go fast enough?
level of
Okay.
The speed, right, chief? The skateboards, like
Okay.
hoverboards, I don't think they.
thank you. That's wondering.
You're good to go.
You know what? I just passed an ordinance. The answer is no.
Anything else, a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, discussion? We'll have second and discussion? I'll second.
No,
No,
Yeah,
we're calling for a roll call, so why don't you
Oh, okay,
bring up
sorry.
what you want to bring up before we get there.
The one little thing, and by the way, I think we're in a good place on this. I think it's a great start. It's not a great start. We're there. The piece that we know isn't in here, but I would like to go on the record and say, because I think we all feel the same way about this, is that the education component and hopefully some creative, positive reinforcement, like the partnership PD has with Lipo and slices of pizza for remember to wear your helmet, and as creative as we can get, is gonna help, I don't know, be the spoonful of sugar that helps his medicine go down, because, that's really what I think wins the hearts and minds and changes behavior and really, keeps everybody safe, right? I have also heard about adults on these things recently. I wanted to point out one nuance, which I don't think you need to regulate in here. However, do we know if just to summarize, e-bikes are not allowed anywhere other than the street? That's what we're saying. And therefore, again, to reinforce it, the education component is going to be key, because the kids are young, they haven't been introduced to driver's ed, that doesn't happen until they're 16. So we're gonna be depending pretty heavily on our PD and the fine work they do in really educating people that are under the age of, that are not yet, aware of the rules of the road. I saw an e-bike in the park the other day, and part of the time he was using a motor and part of the time he was just pedaling.
Yeah,
So I guess,
it was like, what is it called, like e-assist or something like that?
yeah. And you guys, I don't have one of these. I've never been on one, so.
Andrew's got like 12 of them, so you could ask him.
Well, and that's why I think at the last meeting, right, I know it says right on sidewalks prohibited now, but I think the conversation, and I'm for this and will support it, I think we need to get something passed today. But what we talked about was the inability to discern if someone's pedaling on, like, at what point is it classified that they're pedaling as a bike?
The great thing about this is the chief and the force, they have discretion based on what they.
Exactly.
Understood, just landing that.
So that's where I landed on this. It just wasn't part of the discussion, so I wanted to include it tonight. Yeah, so.
The only thing I had was that flagged last time is about the borough property. So are they still able to go in the parking lot of Fairhaven Fields?
That's a
Park-
street.
Yeah,
Bike.
they can go into the,
Okay, even if that's part, like borough property,
yes,
okay, so any street is fine.
any street.
They can't go on the sidewalk there though, but like when they are parking their bike, I guess they can walk their bike onto the, like,
Right.
to the bike racks.
And that's
I know, but
discretionary, yeah,
Just saying, like,
right, absolutely.
Anyone have a
no
motion?
trails, oh wait,
I'm sorry.
what about trails?
No.
No trails.
No trails.
no, Only in the street.
Okay.
So parents need to be mindful about if their kid's ready to be operating a motorized two-wheeled bike in the street.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Second.
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmember Paul,
Yes.
Pinisari,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Borough,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. Consent agenda, we're talking resolutions twenty
Josh,
twenty-four.
I'm sorry, Mayor Helper, can I just say one thing? I just wanted to comment on the fact that I'm incredibly proud of us passing this piece of legislation, because we're at the forefront of this right now. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard in recent weeks across the country about terrible e-bike accidents, mostly within the teenage group, but all life-altering accidents that have changed these children's lives irrevocably forever. And so I couldn't be more proud of the fact that we're at the forefront of this. And in fact, I've had many college friends reach out to me and say, what exactly are you putting in place? Our town needs it, our town needs it, our town needs it. Massachusetts, Texas, California, I mean, all over the US. So I'm just so proud. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for passing it and everyone for working on it.
Thank you.
Can I, there's one note I want to follow up on. Usually when we adopt a new ordinance, at least a land use ordinance, customary to send it to the county and share it with neighboring communities. before they even ask, it might be a good idea to share this. When it's.
Sure. Actually. Okay. Consent agenda 2024-200 through 222. Before I ask for a motion, does anyone want to separate anything from the consent agenda?
Well, it's 200 and then 207.
Sorry about that. 200 and then 207 to 222.
The only comment I'll make, Mayor, is 2019 Allison keep me here, the chapter 159, or excuse me. Yeah, that's the project funding grant, right? That's the 1.25 million for the community center coming from the Fed. And then 221, chapter 159 for bicentennial has to happen. So at the next meeting, we can authorize the contract.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I wanted to add. Neil. Thank
Anyone
you.
want to separate it? Any other comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Member Cole,
Yes.
Kinsella,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. Department reports, July 2024 tax collector, August 2024 municipal clerk dog license. Do I have a motion to accept the reports as submitted, possibly with a thank you?
Motion with the thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, this is the good of the borough portion of this meeting. Please kindly stand and identify yourself by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Please observe a time limit of 3 minutes. Perkins, how are you?
Oh, no Perkins, answer. So just a quick question on the e-bike things. I think it's great. My only question is, upon third and subsequent offense, the juvenile operator is summoned. So 10-year-old Johnny gets fined $250.
Oh, that's true.
10-year-old Johnny, what's his legal responsibility? He just said,
We're really,
Should say,
just a person, I mean.
the
10-year-old Johnny.
10-year-old County's been a problem all over town.
I know, I hate him, but I'm like,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is it de minimis?
Yeah.
Anyone else in the public? No, you can, I'm assuming that you're Meg?
Yeah, hi.
Well,
Nice to meet you guys. I'm Meg Kelly. I live at 98 Harvard Road. I just wanted to address you guys today about the proposed deer hunt. Deer hunt, I don't think there is a deer population issue, but I know a lot of people do. So I just wanted to provide some other alternative option. Hunting doesn't always, you know, it's more of a Band-Aid approach. Obviously, you wouldn't have to do it every year if it wasn't, because they rebreed and other deer from other areas migrate back here. So 2 other potential solutions that I think we should look into is one, surgical sterilization, which is what you think it is, basically a company, which is Connecticut based. It's called White Buffalo. It's ran by Tony DiNicola. He basically comes in, darts the deer. It takes 20 minutes. Think of how you spay or neuter your dogs, and cats or family pets, whatever. And he does that so you're not, you know, euthanizing these animals or killing these animals in a hunt. Cost range, so Princeton actually did this with him, and he estimated a cost of $1,750 per doe. So it is a more expensive solution, but it's also there. The second solution would be immunocontraception, which is done by darting the deer or with the medication, or darting it to, you know, immobilize it for a time period. A hand injection would go in, and it's done with one of 2 medications, PDP or Gammon. So both of these, think of it like the pill essentially, right? Some of them have to be done annually, some of them done every 3 years. It really depends on the medication, the time release, the dosages, etc. Those costs range between $500 and $1,000. All of these, you have to get approval from the New Jersey Wildlife and Fishing Divisions, which can be hard. With surgical sterilization, you have to get approval to dart these animals in a 2,000-foot radius of any, you know, basically any resident living in 0.3, 0.4 mile has to sign off on it, which can be difficult.
I think that's all of our residents, wouldn't it be?
Well, I think we're in like a 2 to 3 mile radius.
0.2.
Oh, 0.2.
It's like a 0.3 to 0.4.
Oh, gotcha, I thought you said 2. I was like,
Yeah.
We are.
2,000 foot, that's fine.
Got it, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really tough.
But yeah, so that's one of the hurdles there. One of the hurdles for immunocontraception, which Princeton also did in a certain area as well, is that only certain people are allowed to do that according to the EPA. For Gonacon specifically, it would be the US Wildlife Services or the New Jersey Fishing and Wildlife. So they're a hunting organization, so sometimes the approval is a little bit harder. However, Princeton's actually trying to go through with this with White Buffalo right now. Their council approved it in July, and they're putting in the paperwork. So, just like we had said earlier, Fairhaven's at the forefront of things, right? Like just because things are hard doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't be trying for this, right? Yes, it's a little bit more costly, than hunting in a 1-year time frame, but over the life of Fairhaven, it might not be from a financial perspective. And just for all the people who are animal lovers in Fairhaven or, don't want it with hunting, right? You can shoot these animals. They can live for a number of hours, they can run onto different properties, and then, residents have to see these deer dead or slowly dying, which I'm a mom, like, I don't want my kids seeing that either. And, just obviously to try to save lives all around, not killing deer, reducing population over time. Obviously, this isn't a fix for tomorrow. If you do sort of sterilizations or anything with the birthing rates, it does take time. Staten Island did a program in about a 7-year time frame. They're really proud of it. You can look on NewYork.gov. They reduced their population by about 41%. So this does work if you're looking at it. But again, just something to look into as an alternative to hunting.
Thank you, Meg. Just to let you know, I finally connected with Councilman Olson today, and we both thought it was prudent to send the information that you sent my way to the Natural Area Committee and the Environmental Commission for their review to see if it may be a viable option for Fairhaven. Because as I mentioned to you, I mean, I think everyone up here, if possible, would prefer not to have to hunt the animals. We do think there is a issue with the amount of deer in town, and I think that was substantiated by numerous individuals. But if this is something that's realistic for the borough, we would absolutely take a look at it and see if we can implement it. So appreciate you bringing it to our attention. We'll take a.
I'd love to meet with some of you individually, but anything you guys need in the process, happy to help on like a consulting. Not like I'm an expert in this, but just in case.
We've done some research.
When we receive some feedback, also, I'll be sure to make sure that we communicate.
Great, thank you guys.
All right,
Thank you.
And I've said this before, but I'm a vegan vegetarian, so this is a hard pill for me to swallow. I would want to know that we've done our research on other options before we do move forward. So I definitely support looking into this a little bit more.
Thank you. Is there anyone else go to the borough? No? Allison?
Chris Hempstead.
Hey, Chris?
Hey, everybody, thanks for taking me, and thanks for your hard work. Two quick things. One is I wanted to mention during one of the sessions we were talking about the e-bikes. Just keep in mind, I know we were talking a lot about fines and how to manage that and all, but I was hoping I had to drop off, but I was hoping to be able to just mention, just keep in mind the weight of these vehicles with the rider on the vehicle is quite significant. Any kind of impact, as others were saying, can be lethal. It's happened in New York City on many occasions with the city bikes, which I'm familiar with driving. They're easy to operate, but if you're not careful, people pop out of nowhere, and it's not an insignificant collision. So it's just something to keep our eye on. I think it's probably why we're talking about it, is the potential danger. But just I know that enforcement is obviously a part of all of these rules, but let's keep our eye on the safety factor, I think, which is the weight and speed of these vehicles, and that's regardless of the age of the driver. The other thing I wanted, go ahead.
I was going to say that's part of the education. I'd say that's also part of the reason ultimately, we decided they were better off not to be on sidewalks, because even a collision with a pedestrian could have really adverse consequences. Go ahead, Chris, sorry.
Yeah, I agree 100% too. I was gonna say the sidewalk seemed a little dangerous. The other thing what I wanted to do, just again, in full disclosure, good spirit, way ahead of the holiday season. I think we did a great job last year with the menorah lighting and the Christmas tree lighting, and I was just hoping we could stay on pace with that this year. And any other holidays that come up and celebrate our diverse culture as a town, and just, recognize it. I understand that the business group does the holiday stroll, and I think that that's fantastic. They should keep doing that, and I imagine, they're going to want to do that again this year, and fully support that. I'll be there myself. But in terms of what happens on the borough property, I think it'd be great if we continue the tradition of a Christmas tree lighting and a menorah lighting, and that's all. I just wanted to get ahead of it. It's September. I know it's a little ways off, but time seems to be flying by. So that's all.
Thank you, Chris, and I encourage you to go to Memorial Park and see the new investment that the council made in the new borough Christmas tree. Looks nice and healthy, and I'm sure it's gonna grow, to great heights in the future years.
It will. I've seen it. We planted quite a few trees against our back property, both evergreens and hardwoods, and they've grown phenomenally fast. So all that discussion about the tree planting by private citizens on private and public property. Yeah, I couldn't echo any more than the professionals and the other participants said. A little watering and a little care, and these things shoot up with just a little bit of care. So we've had great success on our property.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
I have one thing.
Sure.
Shade Tree Commission has some trees that they're gonna be planting, and they want our blessing on the location, which is in Carter Park along the street, and then the community center playground.
We saw that.
Yeah, you saw the email.
Yeah.
Was there some reporting on it? Any objection?
None,
No,
from me.
both those places need,
Yeah.
I have something.
But it is good to, because it's a public investment, a public way. It's good to.
Allison, we done with the boroughs?
There are no more hands up.
The green team is having their sports swap on September 21st from 9 to 12 at the Fairhaven Fields, and I don't want to steal your thunder,
Tell
but
them what that is.
oh, the sports swap. So you can bring anything you have that's to swap, or you can just come and take whatever you need. So if you have stuff to drop off, definitely bring it. If you have stuff you're looking for in the market, please come to Fairhaven Fields. And then just a reminder, the garden party on Saturday. Don't want to steal your thunder, but I will be there and I'm excited. That's why I'm wearing this.
Yes.
To get ready for the garden party.
Great,
Yeah.
we'll see everybody there.
I think we have a farmer's market this weekend too.
And
No farmer's market, that's going on in Fairhaven this weekend.
we're gonna need to sprinkle these.
Oh, wait, no,
more.
is it this weekend? Is it farmer's market this weekend? Next week?
It's coming up.
It's this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next council meeting will be Monday, September 23rd. We are going to adjourn at 9:14 p.m.
Time out.
Oh, so we're not gonna
I
adjourn.
didn't see anybody, just a real question. But you approved the, color run. They're supposed to get back to us on signs.
Right?
Someone was supposed to be on Zoom, I think they dropped off from the Board of Ed. And you're okay with the banner and a few signs?
Is this the
Is
PTA
the
color
is the
run?
governing body okay with
You
us
approved the event. they
approving
just had to
something
come
that-
back.
Yes.
generally
You're gonna
accepted by
Yes.
the?
Go for it.
I'm deconflicting. that's
Great.
fine. That's fine.
Love it. Thank you, Ms. Al.
We are now going to adjourn at 9:15 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No. That was that. And thank
No,
you.
executive said no. Love it.
Send me a link.
Thank you, everyone.
everyone.